Hello everyone, welcome to tutorial 4. Today we are going to discuss the question 3 of our practice questions, and this is a question on the secant method. So we are supposed to find out x3 for the given function to us within the interval or the initial guesses as x0 is equal to 3 and x1 is equal to 1. So here we have the formula for the secant method, and we have to find out now. So here we have x0, x1. So what we need to find out is x2 and x3. All right. Now, let's first go ahead and find out what is f of x0 and what is f of x1. So f of x0, which is equal to f of our x0 is 3. So f of x3 or x0, which is 3, would be equal to, so the function of us is x squared minus 6. So we'll put instead of the x the value 3. So here we have 3 squared here minus 6, which is 9 minus 6, that's equal to 3. Now we find out f of x1, and x1 for us is 2. So f of 2 would be 2 squared minus 6 is equal to 4. 2 squared is 4 minus 6, which is equal to minus 2. Okay, so once we got both of this, now we can use our secant method formula to get x2, and x2 will be, so that's n plus 1, x2, and xn for us is x1. I do not want to write it, or maybe let me just write it down, or because it can get a little bit tough later on. But anyhow, for the first one, I'll just write it down as it is. So we have x1 here minus f of x1 times we have x1 minus xn minus 1, which is 1 minus 1 is 0. So x1 minus x0 divided by f of x1 minus f of x0. So here now we have the value for x1, that's 2, minus f of x1, we just found out, that's minus 2, times we have x1, which is 2, minus x0, that's 3, divided by, we have f of x1, that's minus 2, minus f of x0, that's 3. So once we solve this one here for x2, we get the value as 2.4. So that would be x2. Now what we can do is we can draw a table. So we can write it down in a table form where we have first the iterations, and then we have x of n minus 1 values, xn values, xn plus 1 values, and then we have f of xn plus 1, and we'll have here the difference between xn plus 1 minus xn. So in this particular question, this last step is not required actually, because you're not stopping depending on the tolerance, or you can say the end result, or the difference between the two closest or successive x values. But we are just stopping at finding x3, so that's not very much necessary, but still we'll be writing that down here. So iteration 1, we have for xn minus 1, which is our x0 here, which was the value was 3 from the question, and then we had x1, the value is 2, and we just found out x2, which is 2.4. Now f of 2.4, that is if you put in the function now 2.4, what value do we get? So here we would be getting 2.4 squared minus 6, which is equal to minus 0.24. And then here we have xn plus 1 minus xn, so that would be 2.4 minus 2, which is 0.4. Okay, now what do we do for the second iteration is that we take the value of xn plus 1, or you can say we take the value of xn and we make it xn minus 1 now. So this value we put it here, and the xn plus 1 now becomes our xn, which is 2.4. So those are the two new values for us to work on our formula. So here we get back to our formula. We will be kind of this is why I didn't want to write the x1 and all, because it's more nice if you use the exact formula, because that's how we write the table. So if you have more iterations, it's more easier to follow it out. Let me write it down so it becomes more clear. So now we are going ahead and trying to find out x3, but I wouldn't write it as x3 here, but instead I would just change all of this and write just like in the formula how it is. Just it's erasing a bit more than necessary. So yeah, so here we have xn plus 1, here we have xn plus 1 times, and here we have xn minus xn minus 1, and this is xn minus xn minus 1. Okay, so now if you look into our table, now we are trying to find out this number here, right, which is xn plus 1. So now our xn from the table would be this number here, which is 2.4 minus f of xn, that means f of 2.4 we just found out above here, which is minus 0.24, times we have xn, so our xn is 2.4 minus xn minus 1 is 2, that's here, divided by f of xn, which is f of 2.4, is minus 0.24, we have already found it out, minus we have f of xn minus 1, which is f of 2. So putting in the function the value of 2, we already found it out before, that's here, that was minus 2, so we'll be using that. So we have here minus 2, and that gives us the value 2.454545. So that's what is x3 for us. So here we have 2.454545. So here we had our x0, x1, x2, and this is our x3 now. And putting this value in the function would give us the answer here as 0.024793. And then if you subtract the values here, 0.2 or 0.024793 minus okay, I think I'm subtracting the wrong values here. Yep. So here we're supposed to subtract the xn plus 1, that's this value here, so it would be 0. Okay, still wrong. So here we have the value xn plus 1 is 2.454545 minus we have the value xn, which is 2.4, and that gives us the value here as 0.0545. Alright, so what we're supposed to find out is this value here, which is our x3, and we have already found out that here. So we can just say that as the answer, we can just write it down as, therefore, the root of the function you can just even mention that that's x3 is equal to 2.454545, and that would be the end of this answer.